Hey, Barbara. I'm heading out to do some shopping. Alright, I'm coming now. My name is Barbara. I'm just an ordinary housewife who turned 55 this year. Today, my husband Rob and I are going out to buy some daily necessities. On weekends like this, it's really nice that Rob drives us around. Rob, who is 5 years older, is a humble, kind, and reliable man. This hasn't changed since before we were married. He's truly dependable, and I'm grateful for that. We originally got married through a workplace romance. Back then, it was common for women to resign from their jobs upon getting married. I chose to become a housewife and raised our 2 sons, James and Michael. Since our children moved out 3 years ago, it's just been the 2 of us, living a carefree life. Barbara, do you think this would be good for James and his wife? Rob asked me while looking at baby clothes in the children's clothing section. Well, we don't know the baby's gender yet, so maybe it's better to wait until after the baby is born? You might be right. He's always so eager. But I understand how he feels. I'm looking forward to it too. We're about to become grandparents. We heard from our eldest son, James, about 3 months ago. We're having a baby. Really? Congratulations. You're finally going to be a father. James is finally going to be a parent. Despite various issues, the birth of a child is a joyous occasion. I genuinely congratulated them. 6 years ago, James got married. His wife, Sarah, was a classmate from his college days. When Sarah first came to visit us, she seemed unfriendly and aloof. She must have been nervous. I tried to make conversation to ease her nerves a bit. "Where is your family from, Sarah?" "Colorado," she replied. "Oh, I see. The snowy scenery there is beautiful. We used to go skiing there a lot in the winter." "Uh-huh." I was taken aback by her curt response. Right, it's not easy to get along with your mother-in-law immediately. I hope to gradually close the gap between us. After that, James and Sarah registered their marriage. They started living together in an apartment a bit away from our house. Hoping to get along better with Sarah, I invited James and Sarah for dinner or sent them delicious treats to deepen our relationship. Of course, I wasn't being pushy or sending things uninvited. But Sarah's attitude remained unchanged, always responding with a lackluster, "Uh-huh, thanks." It was nice, I guess. It seemed like I was disliked from the start. Gradually, I stopped contacting James and Sarah. But about 3 months after they registered their marriage, James got in touch. "Hey, Mom, I wanted to talk to you about our wedding ceremony." "Oh, are you two planning to have a wedding ceremony?" "Of course, we are. Sarah wants to have one too." "Is that so? What did you want to discuss?" I was astonished by what James asked. "You want us to cover all the wedding expenses?" When I told Rob, he looked just as surprised as I was. "Yeah, they want us to cover the $30,000 for the wedding." "That's asking for a bit much, isn't it?" "I agree." James's story was this. They wanted to have a wedding ceremony, but neither of them had savings. And Sarah's family couldn't afford to contribute either. So, they were asking us to foot the bill. We decided to invite James and Sarah over to our house on the weekend to discuss it further. "So, what's this all about?" "It's exactly as it sounds," Sarah said brusquely, without even looking at us. "Is this the attitude of someone asking for money?" I glared at James. "Look, James, it's not that we can't afford the wedding expenses, but shouldn't you do something within your means?" Rob spoke gently, as if to counsel him. I completely agreed and nodded along. Then Sarah sighed and said, "You two want to enjoy the wedding too, right? It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. Why can't you happily cover it?" And James, siding with her, said, "Exactly. It's an important ceremony marking the start of our journey. Think of it as a wedding gift and cover the costs, please." Despite James's desperate pleas, Sarah just blankly stared, seemingly uninterested. How can she be so uninterested to see her own husband pleading with his parents like this? But we couldn't refuse our own son's earnest request. We have no choice, do we? In the end, we agreed to cover all the expenses for the wedding. Sarah gave us a perfunctory thank you, but we were left feeling unresolved. They're young, maybe they don't realize how significant this is. After discussing it with Rob, we decided not to fuss over it and just celebrate the occasion. And then, 2 years after the wedding, we heard that James and Sarah were expecting their first child. As usual, there was no direct contact from Sarah, we only heard the news from James. However, filled with excitement and joy for our first grandchild, we wondered, what would be a nice gift for the baby? Is there anything they'd like to eat? We asked James to inquire with Sarah. For the baby gift, she says a car would be nice. It'll become necessary once the baby is born, right? And she'd like to have sushi at a high-end Japanese restaurant. We were astounded once again. Sarah really has some nerve. Obviously, we couldn't afford to give them a car, so we asked if there was anything else they might need. Then Sarah herself came on the phone. If that's the case, cash is fine. We can take care of what we need on our own. Well, cash seems a bit bland, so I'll send you a gift card instead. No, we prefer cash, please. All right then. I hung up the phone, suppressing my frustration. The birth of a child is a joyful event, but I just can't seem to warm up to Sarah. These thoughts were swirling around in my head. Then, 9 months after the pregnancy announcement, when I heard the baby had been born and thought of visiting the hospital, James said, "No. Sarah isn't feeling well right now. So, I'm sorry, but indeed, it would be bothersome to be visited right after giving birth. It's different when it's not your own parents but your spouse is coming over, it wouldn't be restful." That's understandable. James, make sure you take good care of her. I know. I'll get in touch later. There will always be a time to meet after they're discharged from the hospital, so there's no need to rush. However, even 1 month, then 2 months after the birth, there was still no word from James. At first, I held back out of consideration for Sarah postpartum, but it was becoming too much with no contact at all. Could they be having a hard time with childcare? After much deliberation, I decided to reach out. Hello, is this Sarah? Yes, it is. How are you feeling? How's the baby? This kind of thing is really bothersome. She hung up on me just like that. Bothersome? Indeed, they might be going through a tough time with childcare. It must be physically and mentally exhausting. But still, isn't that attitude a bit much? Feeling a profound sadness with Sarah seemingly detesting me so. I just wanted to see my grandchild, even just a glimpse. And finally, after the child turned 1, I got to see them. I met them for the first time in over a year at a relative's memorial service. Unfortunately, Rob couldn't make it due to work that day. I realized the child sitting on Sarah's lap in a pink outfit was my grandchild. It was a girl. I realized then that I hadn't been told the child's sex or name. I approached Sarah, taking the opportunity to catch up. It's been a while. How have you been? Just the usual, I guess. She was as curt as ever. Looking at the little girl playing on Sarah's lap, I asked, "What's her name?" "Emma." "Emma, that's a lovely name. May I hold her for a moment?" "I'd rather no." Sarah flatly refused me. Seeing my astonishment, she went on to say, "Since we have the chance, I'll say it now. I don't intend to engage in family relations." Sarah looked at me with an expression of annoyance. "Except for ceremonial occasions, I won't let you see your grandchild, so please don't contact us unless it's necessary." With those parting words, she quickly left my presence. I was stunned for a moment, not fully grasping what had just been said. How could she say such a thing to the parents of her husband, especially after we had paid for their wedding? Why should we be treated this way? Furious, I wanted to confront James, but he had already left, presumably gone home. Unforgivable. I shared this story with Rob. Then let's decide not to provide any more assistance to James and his wife from now on. Let's consider the wedding expenses as a gift given during our lifetime. People like that will eventually isolate themselves. Just leave them be. I agreed with him. Right, just because we're parents doesn't mean we have to keep bailing our children out forever. I told James that we no longer needed to stay in touch and to refrain from contacting us. Of course, I also made it clear that we would not be initiating any contact from our end. After such an incident, Rob and I only hoped that our younger son, Michael, would marry someone decent. 4 years after James got married, it was Michael's turn to tie the knot. I was apprehensive when Michael's marriage was decided. Would I be subjected to unpleasant remarks from another daughter-in-law? Would I be disliked again? I didn't know how to bridge the gap and was completely traumatized by the previous experience. However, Michael's wife, Lily, turned out to be a charming woman with a friendly disposition and a lovely smile. "Barbara, I look forward to getting along with you. There's no need to be so formal. Just relax." We were reassured by her polite demeanor. "The time you spend as a couple is important. Don't worry about us." I declared from the beginning that I didn't want to repeat the mistakes made with James's family. It's better for both sides to maintain a respectful distance. But Lily asked, "Barbara, do you do yoga?" "I go to the gym once a week for it. It's surprisingly fun." "I'm interested in yoga too. Can I join you sometime?" she asked, striking up a conversation. Moreover, she mentioned to Rob, "Your golf bag is the same as my father's." "Your dad plays golf too?" "Yes. He goes almost every week." "He'd be thrilled to know you like golf too." She engaged in conversation with Rob as well. Lily was a genius at socializing. She could smile and engage anyone in conversation, finding common ground and expanding the conversation skillfully. Lily and I quickly became friends, as if we had known each other for years. Since Michael and Lily didn't have a wedding ceremony, we gave them a generous gift. When their child was born, we sent many gifts and provided financial support. "It's too much for you to do all this." "It's fine. It's like having a first grandchild, so we want to do various things." "Thank you very much." Our relationship with our younger son and his wife was excellent. This was surely thanks to Lily. I was living every day feeling fulfilled. Then, one Sunday, Michael and Lily were visiting our house with their son, Bob. Today, Lily and I were going to cook fish stew together. From time to time, we cook together like this. Sometimes I learn recipes from Lily, who is proud of her cooking, and sometimes I teach her the tastes of our family's home cooking. "Ah, so you add sauce here. That makes the flavor seep in, making it delicious. I always learn something new with you, Lily." After finishing the preparations, Lily and I were having coffee in the living room. Rob had gone out to play golf, and Michael had taken the child for a walk. Lily and I were chatting while watching TV. Then, the door at the entrance opened. Could it be the delivery? I stood up and headed for the entrance. However, standing there was unexpected person. Barbara, it's been a while." It was James's wife, Sarah, holding a baby. "It's been a while indeed. What brings you here?" I asked in a cold tone. Sarah looked deeply hurt by my attitude. Please, I beg you, let us live in your house." Sarah pleaded desperately at the entrance. "What are you suddenly talking about? Please, I have no one else to turn to but you and Rob." I was taken aback by her unusually panicked state. "James got laid off." "What?" "I can't work because the child is still too young." "You've had a second child?" "Yes. And right after that, we found out about the layoff." As we were talking, Lily appeared at the entrance. "Barbara, what's going on?" "Ah, Lily." Upon seeing her sister-in-law, Sarah's expression turned demonic. "Why are you here?" "Because of you, I'm like this house is mine. You need to leave immediately." Sarah started screaming incoherently. "I am the wife of the eldest son. You should leave. Be quiet." I shouted loudly, reprimanding Sarah's unreasonable behavior. "But Barbara, you're always so friendly with the younger son's wife. We are the eldest son's family. You're neglecting the rightful heirs. And it's all because of this woman." Sarah broke down in tears, saying such things. It seems she has somehow convinced herself that we are living with Michael's family. I sighed deeply. "Look, you were the one who refused to have anything to do with us, remember? And now you expect us to let you live here? Don't you think that's a bit presumptuous?" But we're the eldest son's family coming back to live with you, with our adorable grandchildren. Isn't that all good? Grandchildren who are only supposed to see at ceremonial occasions are practically strangers. How can you expect us to feel attached to them? Sarah's face was filled with despair at my words. Then, can't we start getting along now? Sorry, but I'd rather not. I said this firmly. I've thought this for a while, but it seems we just don't get along. I don't see a need for us to be in touch in the future. I rejected her outright. You old hag. With those foul words, Sarah stormed out. Later, James also made a similar request for assistance. However, Rob and I refused. We told them to manage on their own without relying on us. Apparently, they had no one else to turn to and ended up living in dire straits. I do feel a bit sorry for James, but that's the consequence of choosing such a partner. With 2 children, I wish they would act more responsibly as parents. It turned out just as Rob had once said, they will end up isolating themselves. Sometime later, congratulations on your 25th wedding anniversary, Barbara and Rob. This is a small gift from us. With those words, Michael and Lily handed us tickets for an overseas trip. Is it really okay to accept something so expensive? Lily arranged everything. Michael said with pride. Thank you, Lily. But are you sure? Please don't hesitate. I consider you and Rob like my own parents. I was so moved that I couldn't help but cry. Rob didn't show it, but I'm sure he was crying tears of joy on the inside too. I hope Michael and Lily continue to live a happy life. I couldn't help but feel that way.